folks, Scott here with my 10 card 1 kit video featuring the Love from Lizi June 2019 card kit. I think Lizi is referring to this as the Sending Love card kit. Now usually I'll take the 5 sheets of cardstock included in our kits and cut them in half and make 10 card bases from them. This month I thought I'd take a different course and I cut all of the cardstock in half, but I only used half of those for the card bases, and then I took the other half and cut those down to A2 card size panels. So I had a bunch of different colored card panels that I could work with, and then I just augmented those with white card bases from my stash. On top of that, we've got more than 10 cards this month, so this is a 10 plus card kit video. I did use a lot of dies this month, just basic square dies and circular dies. These are my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle dies. You know I love them. You know I use them a lot. These are for Derice nesting circle dies. I use these a lot this month on all of these cards. Now this was such a unique kit that I approach this differently than I do most of my card kits. I usually will make a list of the cards I'm going to make and list down the sentiments from the stamp set and what I want to do with those and any other sentiments that I want to bring in, and I'll make notes, etc., etc. I ultimately let this card kit inspire me, and I just worked through all of these cards using parts and pieces that caught my eye or inspired me in some way. Now, to begin with, my eye was really drawn to the 2 pattern papers that had the 3" by 4" cut-aparts on them. There were 8 cut-aparts on those 2 sheets. My eye was drawn to those. I think the teal ombre is probably what caught my eye first. So my first card this month on a black card base, we get a Sending Love card, Forever in My Heart. This is that ombre cut apart from that pattern paper. Now that cut apart actually did say Sending Love and Sympathy, but I just cut that and sympathy away from the bottom of the love. I really liked the shape that that cursive writing gave it. I left a little bit of that teal border there so I could put some black behind that. Really nice card. I really like this. I actually went over all of this ombre background with a Spectrum Noir sparkle pen just to add a little bit of sparkle to this card. Forever in My Heart and this heart are both from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet from our kit. This is the teal card panel that I cut down with a stitched rectangle die. I cut a black mat with another stitched rectangle die. I glued those both directly to the black card base. I did mount this panel with foam tape to the front of the card, stuck the Forever in My Heart right down to it, added a little foam square behind the heart for this card. Sending Love, 3 little sequins down at the bottom there, add a little sparkle, a really masculine, great Valentine card. Sending Love, Forever in My Heart, nothing on the inside. I loved this cut-apart piece. So a number of those cut-aparts on those 2 pattern papers were definitely sympathy-oriented. So I figured, well, let's make some sympathy cards. Whenever I need a sympathy card, I'm not really in the mood to make a sympathy card, so I thought I'd go ahead and make a bunch of sympathy cards this month. I did grab an old pack of David Tutera Glimmer White card bases. These are really old. I bought these a long time ago, probably on clearance. But I thought that nice gold shimmer on these card bases would be a nice touch, a little classy touch, without necessarily being too flashy or too gaudy, but very understated. So for our first one, we've got May the love of family and friends sustain you in your time of loss. I did cut that panel with a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die. I matted that on a piece of the teal cardstock, a thin black mat behind that. I took that flower pattern paper and cut that out with another Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die, put a thin black mat behind that. I stacked everything on top of each other, and that flower pattern paper was a little busy, so I cut a piece of vellum to go on top of that. I just cut that vellum with the same stitched rectangle die and just glued it over the top. That really mutes that down without making it disappear completely. I love the fact that that pattern paper matched the flowers on the card. A few little gold gems in the center of the flowers for just a little bit of sparkle, and there's that nice shine on that card base. That's our first sympathy card, nothing on the inside, a great sentiment. And another one on that same David Tutera card base. We've got You Are in Our Hearts, Our Thoughts, and Our Prayers. Another cut apart from those two pattern papers. This is actually the whole size of the panel. This is 3 inches by 4 inches. That's the whole panel matted on a piece of black cardstock. I cut out a 1-inch strip of that confetti pattern paper, matted that on some black cardstock as well, glued that to the left side of my card base, and then I added some thin gold moon dust peel-offs on the edges of that. Those were part of the add-on peel-off bundle with this kit. And then I use them on top and bottom of all of these sentiment strips. It actually makes those pop very nicely. You don't have to put a complete box around them, but it really brings those out from that light background. This is mounted with foam tape. This is glued directly to the card base. 3 gold sequins from our sequin mix for just a little touch of sparkle. You are in our hearts, our thoughts, and our prayers. Very pretty. But wait, there's more. Words can't wipe away your tears. Hugs won't ease your pain. But hold on to your memories. Forever they'll remain. This is another cut apart from those 2 pattern papers. I cut that down with a stitched rectangle die, matted it on black. I then cut a piece of that striped pattern paper with another stitched rectangle die, put that on a very thin black mat, glued that right down to that glimmer card base. Now, I didn't think that teal notebook paper was doing very much on top of the stripes. It needed something else to make it pop. I grabbed these stickers off of our 12 by 12 inch sticker sheet and popped those up on the top and bottom of this sentiment. Works very nicely. All of the colors go so well together. There's a little bit of shine with those stickers. I did add a gold heart with a piece of foam tape over the printed heart on the bottom of that cut apart piece. A really nice sentiment. I did add In Loving Memory on the inside. This was one of those sentiment strips from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. Very nice. And then of course I can't do sympathy cards without doing one for our pet as well. This wreath is another one of those pattern paper cut aparts. I didn't actually have a die that fit that wreath perfectly, so I did grab my Orbis circle scissor, my circle cutter. I did have a circle die that cut out this black flowered mat behind that. I glued that mat directly to my shimmer card base and then mounted the wreath on top of that with foam tape. These are flower bunches from the add-on sticker pack that I de-stickified and added to the front of that card with foam squares. This sentiment is another one of those long strip sentiments from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. I mounted that with some foam tape and then added some more of that gold moon dust peel-offs on the top and bottom of that sentiment, running clear across the whole card. A few sequins on the bottom adds a little special sparkle. I added this gold heart. This was from the ephemera pack. I actually cut this away from a sentiment, added that to our card front with a piece of foam tape. This is the only dog I have in my stash. That is from the My Monthly Hero kit from May of 2018. It, of course, comes with a die as well. I used that to stamp and emboss this little dog, then die cut him out and added him to the front of this card. I thought the casual "so very sorry" felt perfect for a pet bereavement card, and heaven knows, animals certainly give us a lifetime of love and memories. Okay, enough maudlin sympathy at the moment. Let's keep playing. I really liked that dandelion cut apart from those 2 pattern papers. So I remember Lizi mentioned that you could possibly use that tulle netting that was a part of our kit as a cover for a shaker card instead of acetate. So I took her up on that. On a white card base, we've got a Thinking of You shaker card with that dandelion and shakers all around. I really like this. I did cut a frame from the Blush Specialty Cardstock. I just used 2 of my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle dies to cut this frame. I glued the netting to the back of that frame, and I centered this cut apart panel. This is the whole panel, 3 by 4, centered that on the netting, then added a double layer of foam tape behind the frame and behind the center. So all of these shakers go around the edges of the card. I really like it. They move actually quite well. I did, of course, fill this up with sequins from our sequin kit, and I also added all of the little dandelion seeds that were part of our ephemera pack. There's one there, let's see, there's one over there. So if you look closely, you can see little dandelion seeds. I thought a shaker card was a perfect way to complement this dandelion graphic with everything floating around and shaking and moving around. I did take the peach and gold peel-offs from our kit, and I outlined the outside of the frame with the large peel-offs, and then outlined the edge of our cut-apart with the medium-sized peel-offs. Those are very nice. They actually match that Blush Specialty Cardstock perfectly. Thinking of You, a really nice non-sympathy card. I did add a little dandelion sticker from our 12 by 12 sticker sheet on the inside just to carry that theme through, like dandelions floating in the wind. I thought we'd start playing with some of those lovely swan dies that we got. On another white card base, we've got You Are Loved with a black swan. I was really kind of itching to do a black swan. Did you know that black swans are indigenous to Australia? I didn't know that, but they are. I die cut that swan from our black and our white specialty cardstock. I used tape on the back of the black one to keep all of the pieces in there, and then glued the white die cut on top of that. Nice black swan. I think it came out really very nice. I used my circle dies to cut 3 circles from that light olive pattern paper, and I mounted those on little black mats. I did cut those mats with my circle cutter. I don't have that many circle dies, but my circle cutter makes it work. Nice thin black mats behind all of those circles. I cut the cattail die again from the white and black specialty cardstock. I glued those together with just a little bit of an offset towards the top there. This is a piece of the mint cardstock, cut down with a stitched rectangle die that is matted on that black flower pattern paper. I stamped this sentiment using VersaFine Onyx black ink, and I did emboss that with some clear embossing powder. I mounted both of these circles to our card front with some foam squares. I glued this circle directly down to the card front, and then mounted the swan and this extra sticker heart with foam tape. Of course, the background pieces are glued directly to a white card base. 3 gold sequins from our sequin mix for a little sparkle at the top of the card there. You Are Loved. I really love that black swan. Now, I kept coming back to that Dr. Seuss quote that was on one of our pattern papers, but it was very similar to this sentiment. It had this little sentiment strips in a field of blue polka dots. So I thought I'd try and see if I could do something else with that. I loved that quote so much. So on a white card base, we've got, sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Quoted from Dr. Seuss. I really like this card a lot. Now, I actually cut 2 strips of those gray and white hearts away from our pattern paper, and this is actually about 2¼ inches of that black heart pattern paper. I cut that so that I could leave some of the black card base showing behind. That's actually just a black card panel. This is on a white card base. I glued all of those pattern papers to that card panel, leaving little gaps at the top and between them. I cut this heart out of one of the cut-aparts and added it to this card front with some foam tape. I did cut all of those sentiment strips away from that pattern paper and mounted those all on satin finish gold cardstock. Worked very nicely, really pulled in the gold from the edge of this heart. Okay, here's another sympathy card. I did highlight that sentiment with a few of the gold gems, and then I stamped "In Loving Memory" on the inside. Now, this is a stamp from the Heaven Held add-on stamp set. And when Lizi was showing this off, she mentioned that she thought you could probably mask off the bottom of this and use just "Forever in Our Hearts" as a sentiment. I took that one step further and actually cut this loving memory piece away from this stamp so I could use them both independently without masking anything. The two of them will pop right back together if I want to use them together. "In Loving Memory" goes very well with a memory sentiment on the front. I love all of the hearts. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Oh, Dr. Seuss was so smart. Now, playing with that sentiment from this add-on stamp set drew my eye to this stamp right here. It's really tiny. I wanted to see if this stamp would actually carry its own on a card front. It is another sympathy card on a white card base. We've got "Butterflies appear when angels are near." Isn't that nice? Now, I stamped that stamp on a piece of the Blush Specialty cardstock. I did use my Stays On Jet Black ink to stamp that. I just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't smear at all. This is actually one of the wreaths from the wood veneer die cut wreaths that we got. I did emboss that with some Love from Lizi Golden Crown embossing powder and then glued that sentiment on top of it so that it shows around the edges. I thought that was a nice repeat of the kind of laurel wreath on the inside too. I took both of those pieces, die cut a piece of the white specialty cardstock with one of my circle dies and glued those all together. I did take another piece of that mint cardstock and cut that down to size with a stitched rectangle die. I outlined that with the very small peach and gold sway peel-offs, glued that right down to my card front. This is back to the small black flower pattern paper. Cut that with another stitched rectangle die, glued that on top of the mint cardstock. I did take 2 of those doilies and I glued 2 of them together because they were so thin you could see through them very easily. So I glued 2 of those together, glued that down to my card base, glued my sentiment stack right on top of that. I took 2 of the large glitter flowers and glued those together, 3 of the smaller glitter flowers, glued those all together. So we've got some nice dimensional flowers down here. I added gold gems to the center of each. This is from my stash. I actually grabbed that little heart die that we got with Love from Lizi's May kit, and I cut a couple of pieces of that Blush Specialty cardstock and made my own little butterfly here. I think it works really nicely. Okay, it might look a little bit more like a moth than a butterfly, but I really like how this came out. I actually used these are those copper gems, those tiny copper gems that we got from Love from Lizi kit March of 2018. I actually took a bunch of those gems and stuck them to a piece of the peach ribbon in our ribbon stash and then cut the hearts in half, glued them to either side of those gems, trimmed down that ribbon on the back, glued that to our card front. Very pretty. I used a lot of embellishments on this card. We've got the doilies, we've got the wood veneer die cuts, we've got the glitter flowers, we've got the peel-offs, and there's also 3 little Nuvo drops down in the corner there. Last little touch for a little shine, a little dimension. I think that's the last of my sentiment cards. There might be one more. Now, I really like those Harlequin diamonds that were featured not only on our pattern paper, but also on our 12 by 12 sticker sheet. Now, the 12 by 12 diamond stickers were about 4 times as big as the little diamonds on our pattern paper. So I thought I would try to see if I could get those to work together. So I fussy cut a bunch of the little diamonds from the pattern paper and glued those together just to some scrap cardstock so that they were exactly the same size as the large diamonds from the sticker sheet. And this is where we go with that. On another white card base, hugs and kisses. I really like this little Harlequin diamond pattern. I actually cut just a scrap of white cardstock 4 sizes larger than one of our sticker diamonds. So I just literally put 4 sticker diamonds on a piece of cardstock and cut around that. That fit that hugs and kisses sentiment perfectly. I stamped that using broken china distress oxide ink and added a little bit of clear embossing to that. Then I grabbed my this is an old alphabet die that I've had forever. I'm sure I bought it on sale or clearance somewhere. This is, I laughed, this is called the little Lizi font. I used the small X and the small O to die cut a bunch of X's and O's out of our black and white specialty cardstock, glued those around the edges of our cards. I did use the smallest peel-offs on our peel-off sheet just to give an edge to the cut diamonds that are at the top and the bottom. I thought that finished them off nicely. I love this pattern. This is all on one of the black card panels, a fun hugs and kisses card. Okay, I'm really itching to color something now. I have had no opportunity. We've got 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 cards there already, and I haven't had a chance to color anything. So I grabbed the swan die that has a wreath around it and think I might be able to color that. So this is what I came up with. This is on one of the mint card bases. A beautiful colored swan. Now, I did take that die and I dry embossed that on a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock. And then I took my craft knife and cut out the inner parts of that. So I had the embossing, I had the outline of everything, but I hadn't cut it out completely. I then grabbed my Stabilo markers and a paintbrush and had a great time coloring this swan. I like that so much. Oh my goodness, look, there's color. There's color. Hello, love. I stamped that using the cracked pistachio distress oxide ink. I did emboss that with some clear embossing powder. I really like the coloring on the swan. I did grab a bunch of those tiny mini copper gems and added those to the center of all the flowers, even the flowers on the swan's head. A really nice Hello Love card. This is die cut with a stitched rectangle die mounted to the mint card base with some foam tape. So we've got a little dimension behind that wreath there. Hello Love. That stamp came out really, really nice. A few sequins from our sequin mix. Oh, it felt so good to color something with this kit. And I love that swan. Okay, I was really trying to figure out a way to use that gold chain that came in our embellishment bag. We go to the ivory card base. Our next card has, when someone we love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. And we've got that great gold chain. I like that so much. So this is a 3-inch piece of that star pattern paper glued right down to our ivory cardstock. Our 2 little black and white stripes along the side here, I actually cut those from that striped scallop that we had on our sticker sheet. Worked really nicely. And then on the edges of that, I used that new lemon glitter peel-offs that came in the peel-off pack as an add-on with this kit. I tell you, that sentiment is probably my favorite sentiment in both stamp sets. I love the font, I love the sentiment. I thought it worked really well. I stamped that on the ivory card front and then die cut that with one of my Gina K Thermo Web oval dies. This is the middle die in the oval small set. And then I used that die on the front of this cardstock to figure out how long my chain needed to be. It's a really inexpensive chain, so it was really easy to open the links and close the links. So I determined the length and joined it together into a necklace. Then I taped this die right down to the card front and used that as the guide for laying down and gluing down that chain. Worked perfectly. Of course, I did that before I added the sentiment in the middle. I did use my multi-medium mat to glue that down. It's nice and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. I don't see any glue on that. 3 little gold gems to highlight the sentiment there. I love that chain. I love the treasure in the sentiment. Kind of goes along with the gold chain. Okay, that's my last sympathy card. What does that make? I make 7 sympathy cards this month. I think my sympathy card stash has been replenished quite nicely. But of course, we are not done yet on another white card base. We had 1 sentiment stamp in our stamp set from the kit that I couldn't resist using. So here we go, some more color, some more fun. I love you to the moon and back. Now you knew I couldn't resist using that stamp. Now I had just recently purchased this To the Moon layering stamp set from Altenew. I got it on sale. I've used moon images on my cards a number of times over the years. If you remember, I was dying to use this. I hadn't used it yet. It took me a little bit of practice to figure out exactly how these 2 stamps lined up with each other, but I think we got a really nice moon there. I did cover that, of course, with some sheer shimmer spritz to give it a little sparkle. I also stamped one in green, just thinking of, you know, the moon is made of green cheese, right? A 2-inch circle die cuts that moon out perfectly. I was so thrilled to be able to use this stamp with this card. I, of course, also used the Altenew. This is the Watercolor Nebula washi tape. I love this big, huge roll of washi tape. I just covered a plain white card base with that washi tape. I cut that out with a stitched rectangle die. I matted that to a thin black mat, glued that to my white cardstock. I stamped the stamp on a piece of vellum, and I embossed that using the Love from Lizi Very Vanilla embossing powder. I thought that worked well. I liked it better than the white. I tried a couple of different die cut shapes for this card, but everything was too big and it didn't really work. So I finally just fussy cut that vellum sentiment out. I ran that through my Xyron sticker maker and just stuck that to the top of the card. These are some Simon Says stamp moonshine confetti sequins. I like those, very star-like. A little sparkle, a little shine, a little moon. I love you to the moon and back. I don't think I will ever print a moon ever again now that I have that moon stamp and this great sentiment. Okay, one more. This is my last card, I promise. This is on the teal card base, and we get Together Forever with that 3rd swan die. Did you know that swans mate for life? when I found that out, I was like, together forever is the perfect sentiment to go along with a pair of swans. This is a nice little Valentine card. This is the teal card base. I stamped the Together Forever sentiment on the top using Salty Ocean ink, and I did emboss that with some clear embossing powder. I then grabbed my little homemade Water Ripples stencil. I put that on the front of the card and used that Salty Ocean Distress Oxide ink to stencil in a little water pattern on the bottom half of this card. I die cut both of the swans and all three of the water lilies from the white specialty cardstock. I took a little bit of my green alcohol markers to the leaves on those water lilies. I thought they looked a little odd, just plain white. I die cut the hearts from some scraps of white glitter paper and stuck those in the middle of the swans. I added some of the teal mirror sway peel-offs to the top and bottom of that sheet. Those peel-offs also came in the peel-off bundle add-on with this kit, Together Forever. Now you realize I can't leave you without at least a small pun this month. So on the inside of this card, after we get Together Forever on the front, you open the card and we get, "You're the swan that I want. You're the swan that I want. You are the swan I want. Ooh, 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 honey, the swan that I want. You are the swan I want." You're the swan that I want. There's a little pun for you. There's a little grin for all of you, I hope. Oh, Together Forever, a very pretty, very teal, very classy Valentine card. And yes, you are the swan that I want. So that's our 10 cards from the Love from Lizi, June 19. Actually, it's 14 cards this month. There was simply so many supplies in this kit, so many sentiments, so many stamps, so much to this kit that I just couldn't stop. I just kept going and kept going and kept going. I, of course, have all sorts of supplies left over. You see here, I did use almost all of the cardstock. I've just got a couple of pieces of cardstock left. I got 2 white card panels left. A decent amount of some of that specialty cardstock. I did use a lot of the pattern paper in our kit. I love that 6x8 pattern paper. There was that Dr. Seuss quote there. I only have 3 pieces of that pattern paper, unadulterated, untouched. Those will go in my stash. I did use a pretty decent amount of those peach and gold peel-offs. And of course, that stamp set will find a loving home in my stash. I used a good amount of the stickers from the 12x12 sticker sheet. I did use a big piece of that pattern paper from the back of this cut apart, and that's that gold heart, partial heart cut apart from this sheet. So I used a little bit of the cut apart sheets. I did use a little bit of everything in our embellishment bag. I did not get to the little bitty flower dies, the 3 flower dies that were in our die set. I cut some of those out. I just didn't find a real use for them in the cards that I was making. I didn't use virtually any of the ribbon, but I used some of everything else in this card kit. And I am pleased to say that I only have, what is this, a half a dozen links left of that gold chain. This used up almost all of that gold chain in our embellishment bag. I used a little bit of the lemon peel-offs, the teal mirror peel-offs, and the gold moonshine peel-offs from our peel-off pack. I did manage to use 3 stamps from this add-on Heaven Held stamp set. I used a few pieces, actually quite a bit of the ephemera pack on these cards, and I even used a number of stickers from our sticker pack. So many extras, so much goodness in this card kit. Once again, Lizi has provided us with a very unique, very beautiful card kit that's absolutely chock full of supplies. Of course, this card kit did sell out in just a couple of days really quickly, and most of the add-ons sold out really quick too. I do know that the Heaven Held stamp set is still available at Love from Lizi. If you have a need for a sentiment collection in your stamp set, this one works very, very nicely. I really enjoyed creating these cards using this card kit. It was fun to mix up my process just a little bit, do some things differently, not be quite so anal retentive, and try and be a little more spontaneous with where the kit inspires me. I think we came up with some really, really lovely fun cards and some really beautiful sympathy cards. If you want to avoid missing out on some of these hit it out of the ballpark card kits from Love from Lizi, please consider becoming a subscriber. It really is a great value, and you never miss out on these very popular card kits. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I hope I was able to inspire you. Whether you receive this kit or not, I hope I was able to give you a few ideas and some inspiration on creating some sympathy cards of your own, some fun love cards, masculine valentines, and some swan cards. Please remember to like me, list me, pin me, post me, share me with all of your friends. Don't provoke the swans. And as always, happy crafting. If you'd like more detailed information, better pictures, and product links, please visit my website at cardcutups.com.